This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, this is Peter Olson. This is the week 1 live session for color theory. In attendance is Anna. I'm glad you're here, Anna. uh, Anna already knows how to reach me. That's my office phone, not a great way to call me. If you're in Professor Penna's class, his email is there. My email is probably one of the better ways to reach me, but you can also text me if you're having trouble getting through to anybody. And I provided my personal cell number on the about the course section. So, welcome to color theory. This is what we're going to be learning this month. We're going to learn about a little bit about the science of color, its cultural and psychological applications, color management, which is Pantone, how to use in a real marketplace way, image processing and color management, and a little bit about print technology. These are the apps that we're going to be using. So Photoshop for pushing pixels, Illustrator for creating vector art like logos and illustrations, and then InDesign as mostly as a presentation tool this month, and we're going to use it. We're going to use templates that you'll be able to add your work to. This is what the whole month looks like. So the first week, we're doing the hero portrait. That's really the one assignment for the week. It involves a lot of pieces and parts, but that's what you're doing. The other 3 weeks are a brand identity project. So basically 2 projects, but the first week, you're gonna just be working on this hero portrait. Now, every Thursday, I'm gonna provide live critiques at noon Eastern time. The way we do that is I'll go through the discussion for the week and look at everybody's work that's posted and give you some feedback. Now, I know a lot of people don't ever get all their work in by noon on Thursday, so I'll also be doing one on Friday. The idea is that you're going to post your work in progress wherever you're at by Thursday, and then provide some peer feedback on Friday. So Thursday's the deadline for the post. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be completed absolutely, but you need to give me something so that I can see where you are on this project going forward. And that's going to be true for every week throughout the month. You're going to do this hero portrait. I'm going to go over that. Create color variations on it and a t-shirt mock-up. So it's a lot of fun, and we'll go through that. We said that already. All right. Only those who love color are admitted to its beauty and immanent presence. It affords utility to all, but unveils its deeper mysteries only to its devotees. So Johannes Itten, he was part of the Bauhaus. This is one of his paintings. He clearly loved color. And what's he saying here? He says color affords utility to all. Can you break that down? What do you think that means? Anna, since you're the only one here. Yeah, everyone can see it, but how is it useful? Utility. What do we use it for? Like if you think of a stop sign, for instance, right? We use red to signify some sort of alert, right? Police lights are usually either bright red or bright blue. Yes, typing is slower than talking. So everyone has a sense of utility with color, and everyone's sort of played with it at some point. In kindergarten, we get finger paints, and you mix some yellow and some blue, and it makes green. It's kind of an amazing thing. But beyond that, we want to get into its deeper mysteries. And to do that, we're going to become devotees. So by the time you're done with this class, I expect you to be on a path of learning about color for the rest of your life. It is a lifelong endeavor. So I've learned a lot from teaching this class over the years, and I continue to learn all the time. when you think about it, color is the most effective tool in your toolkit as a designer. Unlike type, which has to be written in a language the viewer can understand, the viewer has to be able to read and all that, color goes right into us. It strikes us and we feel it right away. We use it to describe our emotions because it's so powerful. So here's red. What word or words come to mind when you see red, Anna? Angry, yes. Angry. What else? War. Mm-hmm. Blood. Anger, war, blood. It's a tough day in Anna's neighborhood. Also, passion, love, perhaps. Yes. Um, what do these emotions have in common? They seem like completely opposite. They have the color red. I would say what they have is intensity. Red is like the most intense color, so it's not like or dislike, it's love or hate. It sort of jumps to the, yeah, jumps to the intensity level. That's why it's used a lot to get your attention for things that are either warnings or with marketing: fire, blood, love, energy, enthusiasm, heat, power. It seems like the hottest color. Here's orange. What comes to mind when you see orange? The fruit, yes, oranges. And we're here in Orange County, Florida, where probably named that for the oranges. Um, yes, it's kind of a bright sunny color. It can be hot as well, but it's a little more friendly and kind of more youthful, a little more creative than red. It's the color of Full Sail, among other things. Uh, Here we have blue. What comes to mind when you see blue? The sky, yes. Blue sky, happiness. It's a beautiful day, and then somehow you're feeling blue. You're not so happy. So again, sort of a paradox. And blue can be very conservative. It can also be kind of new agey and alternative. Green. What comes to mind when you see green? Envy. Yeah, it represents the emotion envy. It also, associated with leaves and trees and nature. It could also be acid, biohazard. Yeah, I think envy and purple. Purple, I've not heard associated with envy, but purple can be royalty. It can be high class and aristocrats, but can also be very tacky as well. So every color, the point is every color has sort of a paradox built into it. And it all depends on how you as a designer use the color that make it go one way or another. Here's pink. What do you associate with pink? Yes, it's bright. Happy. Yeah, it seems happy, kind of youthful. It's sort of red, but very light. Actually, in Russian, they don't have a word for pink. They call it light red. Uh, it's sometimes associated with femininity and youth. And this seems to have a little bit of a backlash lately, in that women are not just one color. So some backlash there. Is my microphone still working? Yeah, all right. Great. Color's also about physics. It's about how your eyes work. So that's kind of a thing you need to understand as a designer. If you're looking at this now and you can see these numbers, 7, 6, 26, 73, 74, and 45. If you can't see those numbers, you might be colorblind, and you should let us know, because there are special tools you can use to work around that as a designer. But The way this is a color blindness test is the places where the number is and where it isn't are really differentiated by hue only, nothing else. So there's no way to see it unless you can see the hues. Are you able to see all those numbers, Anna? I think you are, maybe. All right, moving on. Stare at this white dot for 30 seconds. As you're staring at that, what's happening to your eyes is they're becoming accustomed to the colors that are there. This is something that happens to us as humans because we're very adaptable and we adapt to our surroundings. So if you stare at one color for very long, your eyes kind of get used to it. And when you suddenly remove it, you see the opposite. Do you see the regular flag? You just keep typing yes, Anna, you'll be fine. Yeah, so that's called after image, and it happens because of our eyes adjusting to a new color surrounding. This is the visual spectrum, which you should all be familiar with, and Roy G. Biv. This is the range of electromagnetic waves that we can see as humans. Off on this end is ultraviolet, and over on this end is infrared, which you can feel when you feel the warmth of the sun. That's infrared light hitting you, but we can't see it. It's probably a good thing that we can't see it, because if we could, the daytime would just be filled with streaks of infrared light, and it'd be hard to navigate. So that's how we came about seeing these colors. They help us survive. The word spectrum was created by Isaac Newton. He did a lot of interesting experiments with light. He put a prism in his window and theorized that the colors came from the light being split into its component parts, which he was absolutely correct about. He also created a color wheel, and the color wheel is a terrific tool for us as designers that we're going to use to do our hero portraits, to figure out color relationships. So let's break down the color wheel. First, you've got the primaries. What makes a primary primary, Anna? Well, you can't mix two colors to make them. They're the starting point. So if you start with just the primary colors and you mix two of them together, you get what's called a secondary color. The secondary hues are violet, orange, and green. If you mix a secondary and a primary, you get a tertiary. And in this way, we have a 12-step color wheel, which is going to be our useful tool for this first assignment. If you looked at it like a family tree, there's the grandparents and all the grandkids, and the parents and all the little grandkids. There's also different color spaces in our apps. So in Photoshop and Illustrator, we work either in RGB or CMYK, and we also have HSB tools and lab tools to do color changes that aren't necessarily produced into a device. You should know the differences between these because each one has their own purpose. RGB is for screens, anything with projected light. So computer monitors, TV, phones, they all work on RGB. When you mix all three together, you get white light, which is what you're looking at right now. Then as opposed to CMYK, which is for print, it stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and the K stands for black. The reason it's K is because it's the key plate in printing. When you mix these colors together, you can ultimately get black. So they kind of go opposite ways, but there are less colors in CMYK color space, so you have to be careful when you're moving from one to the other. If you know you're going to print something, you should start in CMYK so that you don't create colors that are unprintable in RGB. HSB stands for hue, saturation, and brightness, and these are tools that we use that can help us manipulate and control color in our apps. The hue and saturation, or the hue is a degree. That's what that little dot is for. Saturation and brightness are both percentages. And then there's lab color, which is luminance on an AB axis. And honestly, it doesn't translate to any device. Like, it doesn't go to screens, it doesn't go to print. It's not useful, in my opinion, for graphic design, and I've never really used it for much. I've done some photo retouching using lab, which is kind of interesting, but ultimately you have to convert it to something else to print it or show it on a screen. Yeah, lab is a little unusual, but I just like to explain it because there it is in your color picker, in your apps. So we're going to work with these basic color relationships for the first assignment: complementary, split complementary, double complementary, analogous, triadic, and monochromatic. First, we have complementary. Now, these are colors that are opposites each other on the color wheel. So they create a high contrast color relationship that has just two colors. And you can sort of see there's a lot of sports teams use high contrast colors. Mexico, Italy use red and green. Christmas, Santa Claus. Next up, we have split complementary. Now, this is like a complementary, but has three colors. So instead of going directly across the color wheel, you go to the ones on either side. It's like the letter Y. This gives us a good high contrast relationship with three colors. There's lots of options with split complementary. And all of this that you're looking at is in the PDF that you'll download for the first assignment. Double complementary is like the letter X. It's the two sets of complements working together. So you have four colors that you're using, and they're all pretty high contrast. If you can think of it like two are on one team and two are on the other. Analogous means that they are next to each other on the color wheel. So as opposed to complementary, they're neighbors. They're sort of get along. They're a little closer, a little more harmonious. Analogous colors look like this. There's still some contrast, if you can see that, but they're less, they're a little more harmonious than complementary. Triadic is three colors that are kind of in the odds of the color wheel. So you have the primary triadic, the secondary triadic, and two tertiary triadics. They create some good high contrast with three colors. And then monochromatic. Mono means one, chroma, color, one color, and you're changing the brightness and saturation to create some contrast between them. In this case, they're just being desaturated. So let's look at some examples. Can you tell me, Anna, what the color relationship is that's being used here? And I've got a little color wheel here to help you. Any guesses? Yeah, complementary, that would be two colors. This has three primary colors. And I just gave it away because they're the primary triadic, right? So this is yellow, blue, and red. But what the designer has done here is taken the red and used it full strength, full saturation, and then sort of desaturated the yellow and the blue so that the red sort of stands out, pops out as the hero color in the hierarchy. This one is, guess this one. Let's take a look. We've got a sort of red, orange, yellow, orange, blue, violet, yellow, blue. I think it's like really right across here. Red, orange, and blue, violet. That would be complementary. They're across the street from each other. This is by Louis Philly, this design, and it has a sort of tint of the violet color. And this complement actually pops out around the little edges here very nicely. It's a good use of a complementary relationship, some high contrast. This one is, let's go through it. It's orange, it's kind of red orange to blue green. So what relationship is that, Anna? If it's straight across the street, two colors, that's a complementary relationship. This complementary relationship, it feels a little alternative. The colors seem a little desaturated. They're also just not like a straight blue orange. They're more at a little tertiary colors, which gives it a different kind of feeling. This one is, this is the work of Jessica Heesh, who's this fantastic type designer. And in this work, she's using what I would call a split complementary. So there's like a red orange, and then there's sort of a green and blue sort of going across there. And this works quite well because the blue and the green sort of create this harmonious field here, and then the red orange sort of pops out with the little flowers in the nest quite nicely. This one is complementary again. It's sort of a cool red and a warm blue green. So it's kind of bent a little bit, but this artwork has the same number of colors as you're going to use in your portraits. So it's black, white, and two colors. And it's quite effective. Why? Okay, so but why was the white in the last one? Let me see. The white, are you talking about the use of white? I'm not sure what you're saying. The white actually does stand out quite a bit because there's a flood of color everywhere. So just the minimal use of white actually kind of makes it really stand out. Yeah. Yeah, that does draw attention. When you use black and white in very sparing amounts, they really do draw a lot of attention. In this case, the black is quite active in the illustration, and it really is fulfilling a role as a color, not just a void. This one is a primary triadic, so red, yellow, blue, and they're all pretty strong. What's the feeling you get from this, Anna? Is this super serious? Or it is strong, yes. It's kind of fun, right? Feels a bit kid-like to me. Primary triadic will do that if it's full strength. And then this is a book on popcorn recipes, so that seems appropriate. This one is strangely also primary triadic, red, blue, and yellow, but it has a totally different feeling because the red is very sort of a cool red going to red violet. The blue is more of a blue green instead of just a straight blue. And both those colors are a bit desaturated and the yellow pops out. So it has a more sophisticated feeling because it's not just the straight colors off the color wheel. I keep talking about warm and cool. Every color has sort of a warm and cool version of itself. And as you move around the color wheel, you can have a warm blue or a cool red. So this is another factor that you'll be aware of as you manipulate color. This is a painting by Maxfield Parrish. What time of day do you think this is, Anna? Evening. Yeah, evening's a good guess. When the sun is low in the sky in the evening and in the morning, most of the blue-green spectrum gets kind of blocked out and the light feels very warm yellowish. This is actually a painting called Daybreak, so it's morning, but evening is a good guess. When you look at the mountains in the back, you see this complementary relationship between orange and purple, yellow and blue, yellow and purple, orange and blue, and it's really effective for creating light and shadow with that sort of warm light. As it goes off in the distance, it gets desaturated and becomes kind of faded. But this was one of Parrish's things. He did like that early morning or late evening light. So this brings us to our hero portrait, which is the first assignment for the week. So what you're going to be doing is doing a portrait, obviously, of your hero. I want you to pick somebody who is either living or dead. It could be any person. It could be a relative, but it cannot be a fictional character. So Harry Potter is not your hero, but J.K. Rowling could be. You want to do fictional characters. The reason I say no fictional characters is because they are the creation of somebody else's mind. And I want you to create your own sort of original artwork for this. And we'll get into detail on that a little bit later. So you're going to start off doing grayscale. Now, this is a drawing by Degas. Degas was famous for these beautiful pastel drawings of ballet dancers. He was a fantastic member of the Impressionist movement who did beautiful things with color, but he also understood the significance of using grayscale to create shape and dimension, light and shadow. And so he did many, many studies in pencil in black and white in preparation sometimes for the color versions. And this is kind of how we're going to work in this project. This is by Matisse, who did the wonderful water lilies, and he also understood the value of black and white. This is a monoprint in black that he did. And then this is Degas' drawing of Matisse. I guess they were friends. This is, now I'm going to show you some student samples of this assignment. So we're going to follow some very specific rules for this assignment, which is you're going to be very limited in the color usage. So to start with, you're going to use a light gray, a dark gray, and black and white. This particular portrait done by a student is of H.P. Lovecraft. Do you know who that is? He was an author who wrote sort of science fiction-y books in the early 20th century about sea monsters and things. So the student actually added some of these elements in the background that made this kind of more than just a floating head portrait. It's kind of a statement on who the person is and why they're significant. It also has a very sort of ominous look to it as well. But he's done a lot using some line work and filling in with dark gray and light gray and just black and white. This is Simon Bolivar of Venezuela. And this student's portrait is a bit of a tragic figure from Venezuela. It's kind of a haunting look, but it's a different take on him, dripping like this. So it's definitely unique. It has a unique style to it. But again, look, there's a dark gray, a light gray, black and white, and that is all. So with this very limited palette, I don't want you to use drop shadows and gradients and effects. You're keeping it flat and simple because we're simulating what you would do for screen printing to a t-shirt. This for Nelson Mandela. He added a couple of words. You can add words if you want. A little map of Africa, South Africa there in the back. Now, this is, do you know who this is? People either say Dr. X or Jean-Luc Picard, depending on how old they are. But almost no one says Patrick Stewart, who's the actor, who this is a picture of. Now, it's a pretty good picture of him, wouldn't you agree? But it's not great as far as concept for a portrait because there's just some bars in the background. It doesn't really make a statement about him, and the artwork is not that unique for a t-shirt. So I want you to create something different, either stylistically in how you render the face or in additional elements that you put into the illustration to make it your own. Does that make sense, Anna? All right, let me jump to an example. This is Yolene's assignment she did for this in March for her mother. So it's a picture of her mother, Emily. Now, this has some nice style to it. She's obviously got some skill with Illustrator. The hair is kind of an interesting feature here. It's freestanding, so it works well on a t-shirt. It's not like in a box or in a frame. These flowers, which are done well, are sort of like surrounding her. And she's done a good job creating shape and dimension in the face. So there's a bright white light for the highlight, a mid-tone gray, and then a dark tone gray, and then black. So it creates shape and dimension. These flowers are done well too. And everything here is just black, white, and 2 grays. No gradients, no special effects, no shadows and all that. So that's how I want you to work. After you create your grayscale portrait and you have this set up properly, you're going to create color relationships. So first off is monochromatic. So that's one color. She picked red, and although this may appear like black, it actually is sort of a dark red. And then complementary, 2 colors plus black and white. So she's got a sort of violet and yellow green. Split complementary, that's 3 colors plus either black or white. She chose white as the other color. It could be black. Double complementary, 4 colors, no black, no white. So you have to fill it in. She's got a very sort of toned down green, I think. Analogous, that's colors that are next to each other on the color wheel, no black, no white. Triadic, 3 colors, either black or white, and she chose black to keep. There's her final design. You're going to pick your best one out of all the ones you do, and then separate it just like you would if you're going to a screen printer, and then put it in a t-shirt mock-up, which you've been provided with. So there are video tutorials that take you through how to do all these different steps. The difficult starting point is, who's my hero and what am I going to do creatively to make it a unique piece of art? As you manipulate the colors, you are going to change the hue, saturation, brightness, and temperature of the colors. Let me close this. Let me show you the assignment. If we go here. Here we are in the live session. All right, so the hero portrait. So here it is. When you click here, there's a discussion, some text that explains what I've been telling you in the live session here. And you're going to complete 5 tasks in order. The first one is to create your grayscale artwork using Adobe Illustrator. Now, there are 2 videos here to help you with that. One is called Sketch to Illustration, if you like to draw, sketch. The other is working from a photo. Depending on your strategy, how you're going to do this, you could watch the video that's appropriate that will tell you how to do that, best way to do that. This first video tells you how to use the presentation template, which is in this zip folder. So you're going to download this group of files, and it'll tell you what to do with that. And then you're going to, after you've created your grayscale artwork, you're going to create the color relationships as described here. And then there's a video telling you another video telling you how to do that. And then you're going to create color separations for screen printing. And this is a complex process written out here, but there's also a video to help you. We have video and words, video and words. All right. So then place it in your t-shirt mock-up. You're going to make what we call Adobe Spark presentation, which is like a video presentation of your whole work. There's a student example here, Dear Old Dad, as an example, and that will help you. Now, if you look down here, as you go down, this shows you how you'll be graded for this first assignment. And then there are examples. What makes good work? What makes mid-level work? Not so good. And what makes poor work? So take heart of these examples All right, so when you download the file and you see all the folders, some of the folders have nothing in it because you're going to create content that will fill those folders. It's structured so that it will help you stay organized, which is a key thing, because as you go through Full Sail, you know you're going to generate lots and lots of stuff, and you want to stay organized. Is that helpful, Anna? So that's the assignment for the week. I'm going to stop the recording